Once you hit $15,000, money can feel different. You stop panicking, you stop living paycheck to paycheck, and for the first time, you feel control. In this video, I'm breaking down 6 reasons why $15,000 is the real turning point and why so many people say that everything shifted after they hit it. Then I will reveal my 4-step framework. It's exactly how I saved my first $15,000. Even if that number feels impossible right now, this system makes it actually doable. If it's your first time here, hi, I'm Yidan. I reached financial freedom in my early 30s, but I didn't get there overnight. I got there by hitting small milestones, and $15,000 was my first one. That's why this number matters so much to me and why I want to break it down for you today. If this type of content helps you, hit that like button and follow. I post every week with real, practical money tips that actually worked for me, so you can use them too. Okay, let's get started. And the very first reason is $15,000 gives you real safety. And this is all about your emergency fund. So an emergency fund is just money that you set aside for unexpected expenses like your car breaking down, medical bills, or losing a job. It's money that you don't touch for anything else, only for true crisis. Then how much should you save? Well, for most people, it's roughly their 3 to 6 months of expenses. Why? Because that's usually enough time to cover bills and essentials while they figure things out if something goes wrong. Now let's break it down. So according to the most updated US BLS data, which stands for the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and as of the day I'm shooting this video, the average US household spends about $78,000 per year, while a typical household has about 2.5 people, which comes to roughly $31,000 to $32,000 per person per year. And we'll just be more conservative and grab 6 months or half a year of that, and that's about $15,000. And that's exactly how this milestone number is calculated. Of course, everyone's expenses are different, especially if you are in a different country. So think of this number as a rough guide. You can adjust it based on your own situation. Now, why does it matter? Because without this cash reserve, one unexpected event can wreck your finances. For example, imagine your car breaks down and you need $1,200 to fix it, but you don't have that money. Then you might have to put it on a high-interest credit card or borrow money, which starts a cycle of stress and debt. But with a $15,000 rainy day fund, then you can take care of these type of situations without panic, no debt, no stress. And it can even affect your health because financial stress is linked to poor sleep according to many surveys. So from that perspective, if you want to sleep like a baby, one idea is to start building a safety net. Turning to reason 2, being poor actually costs you more. Here's the hard truth. No savings means that every unexpected event hits harder. Take something small, for example, like a flat tire. With savings, you pay $150, fix it immediately, not much to worry about. Without savings, you delay, damage the wheel, miss work. Suddenly, it's $600, or worse, you put it on a high-interest credit card and pay even more over time. Now, a lack of buffer turns tiny problems into full-blown financial disasters. Then there's the boost theory. Cheap stuff breaks faster. If you can't afford quality, you keep replacing things, and over time, you actually spend more money in smaller, painful payments. Think about buying a quality pair of shoes versus cheap ones that fall apart every few months. The cheap ones actually end up costing you way more. You also pay more because you can't buy in bulk. Smaller quantities mean higher prices per unit. And fees, late here, overdraft there, miss a bill, and boom, interest, penalties, and more penalties just start stacking up like a bad Jenga tower. And being poor means that you're constantly paying for the privilege of being broke. Even housing isn't cheaper. Lower income often means worse deals, not better ones. Higher security deposits, higher rents, and worse conditions. Food, same story. Corner stores close by, too expensive. Marked up prices for the same items. Without reliable transportation to reach larger, cheaper stores, you end up paying extra just because you can't access better options. The bigger picture is this. When you are poor, life just costs more. Everything from emergencies to daily necessities hits your wallet harder, and it keeps you stuck in the cycle. On to reason 3. $15,000 gives you options. It moves you from simply surviving to actually choosing. Once you hit $15,000, you're not just surviving anymore. You can finally ask, do I want to? Instead of can I? You can say no without guilt, no to a bad job or a risky deal, rather than panicking. You are not desperate anymore. Instead, you can ask for better pay or benefits, negotiate for better terms, take projects you actually enjoy, or walk away from deals that don't feel right. Because savings don't just protect you, they give you freedom to choose. Another important reason that hitting $15,000 changes everything is that it builds confidence. Saving your first $15,000 isn't just about money, it's a mental milestone. It's your first big win. It proves to yourself that I can do this. That first milestone breaks a mental barrier. Now managing money feels doable. You'll gain confidence in your choices, in your ability to save, and in your future. It's called self-efficacy, knowing that you have the power to reach your goals. Not only does it build your confidence, it also serves as solid proof that you can actually save. You've built a habit, mastered the process, and learned what works for you. And because you know how to do this, bigger financial goals don't feel impossible. You can level up to anything you set your mind to. That first win creates momentum, making the next milestone easier and more achievable. Reason 6. When you hit $15,000, the impact of investing and compound growth becomes visible, and you start to realize just how fast your money can grow. For example, say that you save $15,000 in a year and invest it in an index fund which earns you a 10% return every year. If you continue saving $15,000 each year, by the end of year 2, your balance won't just be $30,000. It'll be $31,500. By the end of year 3, it won't just be $45,000. It will be $49,650. Of course, this example assumes a 10% return, which is based on the historical growth of index fund, which is not guaranteed in the future. It also assumes that you continue saving the same amount each year. But the point is, your money isn't just sitting there, it's making more money for you. And that first $15,000 really puts the power of compounding into perspective. Alright, that's why $15,000 changes everything. Now let's get practical. How do you actually save your very first $15,000? I'm going to break it down into 4 simple steps you can actually follow. Step 1. Pick a time frame. This is way more important than people realize. If you just tell yourself, I need $15,000, your brain shuts down. That number feels huge, so don't do that. Instead, ask, how long am I giving myself? If you want it done in 12 months, that's about $1,250 a month. 24 months is about $625 a month. And 36 months, which is 3 years, is about $416 a month. When picking your time frame, give yourself enough time to be consistent, but not so much that motivation fades. Step 2. Make savings automatic and boring. This part isn't exciting, but it works. Treat saving like rent. You don't decide every month whether you'll pay rent or not. It just happens. So open up a high-yield savings account, then set up an automatic transfer for the day after payday. For example, if you bring home $4,000 a month and you auto-save $1,000, that's $12,000 in a year. No willpower, just math. The key takeaway is that you don't save $15,000 by being perfect or super disciplined. You save it by setting things up so it mostly runs on autopilot. Step 3. Windfalls don't count as spending money. This one rule makes a huge difference. Tax refund, bonuses, cash gifts, that money doesn't get decided on. It goes straight into savings. Even something like $3,000 from windfalls can cut months off your goals. Step 4. Add a short-term boost if you want. This is not hassle forever. This is, let me speed this up a bit. Think 3 to 6 months, max. And that could be freelance or consulting or selling stuff that you're not using or a short-term contract or side gig. Even if an extra $200 to $500 a month makes this way easier than people expect. And that's it. 4 simple steps to get you to your first $15,000. Remember, this isn't just about the money. It's also about building confidence, freedom, and momentum. Hit that first milestone, and everything after it gets easier. If you found this video helpful, you might like this one too. I'll see you there.